Hi, so in this video we will cover graphs and data questions. So let's start. On your official SAT, you will see 5 to 6 questions that ask you to interpret data contained in a graph or table. You might be asked specifics about the data in the figure, or you might be asked about how the data relate to claims made in the passage. Anytime you see a figure or figures appear alongside a passage, you should be ready to answer 2 to 3 questions about the data in that figure. You might see questions similar to these. Which conclusion about dash is best supported by figure 2? The data presented in the table most directly support which claim from the passage? The figures that appear on the SAT can vary significantly in their presentation. You might see bar graphs, some other types of graphs, data tables, scatter plots, or any other types of diagrams. But be rest assured, there are only certain set of types of graphs that appear. So once you've covered all of them, you won't be surprised on the test day, right? You will have to use the titles, labels, and keys of the figures to interpret the data within that graph. Now, what are the common errors? Wrong data points. Many incorrect choices will correctly interpret the wrong piece of data, whether that's the wrong bar in the graph, point on a line, or column in a table. Since choices will often contain multiple values or measurements that can be found in the figure, you should always double check to be sure you're looking for information in the right place. Opposites. Some word choices may interpret a trend from the figure in reverse. For instance, an incorrect choice might describe a positive correlation between two variables as a negative correlation. These choices can be tempting as they are frequently only a word or two away from being correct, that is, increase or decrease. Number three, unsupported claims. When questions ask you to connect data in a figure to claims from the passage, most wrong choices will be caused by irrelevant or unsupported information. This choice might include claims that do appear in the passage but are unrelated to the data in the figure. They might even include claims that go beyond the information in both the passage and the figures. So what's the top tip? Number one, read the labels. While every SAT figure will be different, each one will have a title, labeled axis, and or a key that provide all the information you need to interpret the data in the figure. Before you start looking for the specific answer to a question, read all the labels in the figure. This will help you to locate the data quickly and interpret it accurately. Number two, summarize the figure. Try to sum up the figure in one or two sentences. What story does the figure tell? What do you see any obvious patterns? At first, focus only on the most obvious relationship in the figure. For example, carbon dioxide level in pond has increased over the last 10 years. The respondents from group 3 were most likely to answer yes. You have to simplify the main idea of a graph in this way. We'll find it much easier to relate the data in the graph to the claims made in the passage, right? So these are the top two tips that we have to follow. The last tip is put your finger on it. So if a question asks for a specific measurement from a graph or a value from a table, don't lose your spot as you move between a figure and the choices. Improve your accuracy and avoid having to find the data again by physically placing your finger or pencil in the relevant part of the figure, right? You can also underline it or circle it. So these are the tips and strategies on how you should tackle graphs and data question. In the next video, we will cover another question type.